getting people to new money where you have opportunity cost is, I think, even harder. If I want you to download a new messenger app and have new communication platform with me, that's just like it costs me one click of a button and download the messaging app. Like it costs me a little bit of time. If I want you to switch from fiat to Bitcoin, you have the opportunity cost of potentially losing everything if you are in fiat safer than in Bitcoin. So I don't know what you think about the network effects, but I think this will take a while. It will take a while till people really get Bitcoin and the network effects. And once it's built up, then it's like running for like hundreds of years because it's really hard to get off it.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm fine with the narrative of Bitcoin's digital gold. You hold it in your portfolio like you do, and it becomes part of like what used to be like a 60-40 portfolio, but now it's like whatever, 60-20-20, and it's gold and Bitcoin, and then like tech stocks and index funds. Like that reality is fine with me. I know a lot of Bitcoiners want hyper Bitcoinization and like adoption to be, everyone's buying and transacting in sats. And I do think, to harken back to the attention pocket, that we're going that way. But like, if you look at like, the Gildar and the pound and the dollar, we're talking 100 to 150 year pockets, and Bitcoin's 16, so that's going to take a long time to mature, probably past our, level of influence, 30, 40 years maybe. And in the meantime, it'll probably just be more and more seen, as a risk-off asset that people want to hold a little bit of, and financial advisors are going to start encouraging clients to keep some of that. And then, on our end, it's like, what do we want to do with the appreciation of value? And this is where I've been more interested lately, which is like, so what? You have more resources or financial time saving power. What is that? How does that translate into what, someone's raison d'etre, like their purpose, their passion, like what they're trying to go for in life? And like, I'd like to see, and I'm working on doing it myself, like rolling increased financial power into active daily options, decisions, life events. I think there's a stigma about spending Bitcoin because if NGU goes up forever, why wouldn't I just keep it? And I think that's true to a degree, but if you've reached a certain level of, look at it like a traditional stock position. Like if you bought Amazon at whatever, $50 and now it's 300, maybe actualizing some of that financial purchasing power that you've accrued through prudent investing can translate into an impact in your current daily life now. Like, what do you want now? Because life isn't only lived for tomorrow. And I think that Bitcoiners have stigmatized selling. Obviously, selling happens. James Check talks about this a lot. People are like, oh, they don't think people sell it. Like, no, they sell. Like, there's a ton of sell pressure at 105, ton of sell pressure at 110. I think we hit like 114 today. I glanced at it earlier. Well, there's going to be a ton of sell pressure there. Eventually, the whales will thin out, or they'll realize that, everyone's cashed up enough, and they're going to say, okay, let's wait for the next up level in the price function. I just think that it's prudent to socialize the idea of like, if you only have built wealth on a digital ledger that's stored in a hard drive somewhere, in a safe behind guns and bullets or whatever, that's not actually impacting your life at all in any way. It's just a digital idea that's abstracted on the cloud. Maybe you are interested in pursuing, I don't know, maybe you want to get a falconing license or learn how to go hang gliding or Maybe you're really interested in origami, or you want to build a wood workshop, or you're, you know, you fuck it, you want a hot tub. Who cares? Like whatever it is this idea of like make life cool now, within reason, and don't just like stack for your grandson, which is also cool to do. But I would just love to see more Bitcoiners move that financial energy into, it's this whole, the ethos of no chairs, like no chairs, to me is a misguided notion of how to accrue and work with wealth. Now, it was very helpful early on when it was like, 5,000, 10,000, 3,000, 16,000, 2,000, da, 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 da. Like you had to stomach a certain amount of volatility, and that sort of no chairs mindset is what made, these common memes like diamond hands, it's what made them work. But that ship has sailed. Like that day is past. We're in an evolved financial market with like a worldwide instrument that's a tenth of the market value of gold, and it's that window is going to continue to close. So for Bitcoiners that have been around for a cycle or two, as opposed to just being like, all right, I'm going to eat ramen noodles, buy as much Bitcoin as I can, and hit the gym. Start thinking about the context of like, what can I put money into today, if at all, that delivers value to my friends, to my family, to my community in a real way, something you can take a bite out of or touch, as opposed to just like, I've got all this like cyber money and I'm eating ramen tonight. Like, I think that's like a little misguided. So I just want to like push a little air into that, because of Bitcoiners can be pretty diehard. I do see this trend like decelerating, but I think it's worth calling out.
I think it's also important, as you said, like your health, your time, your family is more important than your Bitcoin. And Bitcoin at the end of the day is money. And of course, it reflects your time, and everything comes back to time. But having more time with your family, having better health. And I do like ramen. I actually do like it, but not the instant ones. Like it's a nice dish sometimes. But it is like enjoy life, do something that you like. And I always get the comment, "Oh, like this comes from someone that has enough Bitcoin." Yeah, no, like you like you can always say I don't have enough Bitcoin, and you can always say I have enough Bitcoin. Like both things can always be true. You can always have more. Like the guy with 0.05 Bitcoin says, "Oh, I don't have enough Bitcoin. I really want to have 0.1 Bitcoin." The guy with 0.1 Bitcoin says, "Oh, I don't have enough Bitcoin. I want 1 Bitcoin." The guy with 1 Bitcoin says, "Oh, I don't have enough Bitcoin. I want to have 10 Bitcoin." And up to 100,000 Bitcoin. I mean, Michael Saylor, I think he is not of he doesn't think he has enough Bitcoin. He keeps buying strategy. So it's like there can always be a new level, and you can always be, having 1,000,000 Satoshis, or having a full Bitcoin, being a Satoshi billionaire. So I don't know. I support the idea of spending Bitcoin, especially if it's net positive to your life. So maybe not spend it on like. And it's also complicated because maybe you want to spend it on something that doesn't make sense. Maybe you want to buy your dream car, and it's fine. I'm more against that, but it's your money, and you should do it if you really enjoy it, and if it brings something good to your life. But most importantly, like, buy yourself some time with your family. Like, buy yourself some better health, good food, workout, like all those things. I think it's fundamental. I mean, like this is a bit. You shouldn't suffer because of Bitcoin. You should get more. You should get Bitcoin to get more life, and not more life into Bitcoin. Something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to be putting a sauna in my backyard, and it's like expensive, and I'm most likely going to sell some Bitcoin to pay for it. And I just think like That's a concrete example of something that like I can take that sauna a couple times a week. It's better for my health. Like I'm a Norwegian guy and like, you know, we're up north in the cold and like it's part of my culture and part of our vibe to like be in a wet rock sauna and like throw steam on that, like breathe in there. Like I live off that shit. And I've never had an opportunity until now to be like, you know what? Yeah, I am going to pull the trigger on this. I'm going to create a reality where I have that in my backyard. And it's worth so much more than Bitcoin for me because it's the shit. Who doesn't like a sauna? You know what I mean? But it's like a great real world example of like, this is worth more than that digital ledger. And that's what our money is for. You know, and to your car point, like I always say, like, oh, land, yo, not Lambo. But like, maybe it's not a Lambo, but if you have a dream car or some classic thing that you want to ride around in a convertible and that makes you happy, I mean, go for it. And, you know, people always talk about cars and these huge big ticket items, but just the ability to spend an extra $1,000 can be life changing. Maybe just getting that new MacBook that helps you work on your music or that one, you know, cool, I just bought like, I got a 4-track cassette recorder off eBay the other day. It was like $180. And that's dope to me because that's like a vintage recording equipment. But like, that's worth, you know, selling Bitcoin for because it's a real object that brings like cool shit into my life, like the ability to record on a tape, work on some music. So just thinking like that, thinking like what inspires you? Like people throw out cars and houses, I think a lot, but it doesn't have to be that. It can be a $350 item, you know, that just changes the way you interact with your daily matrix. Maybe it's just a slightly more evolved piece of tech or a certain vintage something that you like, or an armoire or a bookcase or a record player or a digital you know, like these new MPC players that people are interested in, or like, I don't know. The idea is like, you can think more creative. You don't have to save up till you spend a bunch of money. You can just make little tiny choices in life that improve. Like I got this set of glasses the other day. They're like dope. I got them at this vintage shop. They like hold really well in the hand. They're like old school glasses. They're like not too big, not too small. They were $5 a pop. But like that's probably the best $20 I spent last month. You know what I mean? Because like I drink out of these glasses every day. And so just I guess how I would correlate all of this back to Bitcoin is like thinking about your daily matrix and your daily reality and like your tangible world as like a manifestation and an exteriorization of your internal wealth. So you want to be holding nice things, feeling nice things. Nice doesn't mean it's too expensive or overpriced. It just means it's something that you like. And you know, trying to build that world for yourself and for your family. And Bitcoin can help. And the point of that is that all of those things that I just mentioned can be bought with less than 0.1 Bitcoin. Like it's not like I have to get this, you know, $400,000 Lambo. There are very small items, you know, that can help with health and wellness, you know, whether it's whatever. There's all these great ways to expand. So that's just like a perspective on money and like how money's really meant to be turned into things and not just stay as money.
I do agree with that a lot. Have you seen yesterday the Apple event was, and have you seen the orange new iPhone? People are saying people. No, it's the whole. It's the same iPhone as last year's. It has no improvements in my opinion. But they only have 3 colors, and it's fascinating how many people are now speculating that Apple does anything with Bitcoin. I just thought about that because it was a debate on Twitter where like, oh, just because they're doing an orange iPhone, that doesn't mean you have to buy it. Like,
yeah, right.
Don't spend your Bitcoin on it.
I think I would like auto buy anything that's orange. I'm like, ooh, it's orange, especially like that rusty orange, not like bright orange, but that like old, like vintage, rusty, like 70s couch type orange. I'm like, ooh, that's so like vintage Bitcoin. I gotta have it. It's funny. A lot of people changed their branding too. Did you see Gemini like rolled out like a more orange interface? The Winklevi twins, their UX on their app now is way Bitcoin forward, and they've been like shilling shitcoins for 7 years. You know what I mean? Like buy this, buy that, but like any way to make attention, and all of a sudden they're just like on the Bitcoin bandwagon, like redesign like the way the app looks on the phone. It has like an orange hue, like there when you open it up it's like discussing Bitcoin first. And I'm just like, dude, everyone's going to get the message sooner or later. Like you can shill around and like sell these like vapid, inane, centralized versions of like FAW Bitcoin all you want, but like eventually if you don't like get on the train and like market your company towards Bitcoin. And you saw the same thing with what's his face, Armstrong, Brian Armstrong at Coinbase. Like in the alt season, they're all about alt, you know, this and that. And then all of a sudden now he's like out there doing press releases and PR, like Bitcoin forward. They put out like a massive Bitcoin ad. I don't know if you saw it recently. It was actually pretty beautiful. It's one of those like thoughts of life, a story in the day of kind of what, you know, what is money. And they have a great marketing team. But anyway, point is now they're like double down Bitcoin. This is a company that could have bought Bitcoin back in 2010, maybe like a year. Like Armstrong like thought of Coinbase, the original instance of the idea was he was just like letting people send Bitcoin back and forth to each other. And then he actually got to a point where he asked some of these users and he was like, well, what do you guys want? They're like, well, we want to be able to buy it. Where do we get this shit? So that was actually how he pivoted, which is a great way to pivot any company, by the way, is always just ask your users what they want. Jack Mallers talks about this with Strike a lot. Like he used to think that he needed to envision what should happen for a company and then go out, you know, on a quest and find that and bring it back. It's really much easier than that. It's just a survey with like an Amazon gift card, which is like, will you please just tell me what you want? So anyway, so Brian did that for Coinbase, flipped to buying Bitcoin. He didn't buy any Bitcoin. I mean, for 10 years, they never put Bitcoin on their balance sheet. That's got to be the biggest financial oversight in like the history of cryptocurrency. And I'm not sure, did you see something came out? I feel like they might have actually just recently bought some, like in 2025. Did you see anything about that, Robin?
No, but I'm pretty sure they have. Like,
Yeah.
I couldn't say it. Like I can look it up, but I think
Yeah. No worries.
I'm pretty sure they have bought Bitcoin this year.
This year or possibly late last year, but whichever the case is, they've gone marketing forward Bitcoin. And same with Gemini. And like, I don't know what Kraken and Binance are doing, but I imagine they'll get on book as well. And then these companies like River and Strike, I think are just so, and I'd be curious, you know, in your jurisdiction, what Bitcoin only companies you support or look towards. But I've been really pleased with the UX on both of those companies. And I really enjoy both of the CEOs, you know, Jack Mallers and Alex Leishman. These guys are legends and they're building really great tech. Strike loans are coming out. That's going to financialize the world. You know, the ability to get like a $500,000 loan against your Bitcoin in a country where, you know, the currency is heavily debased is a total game changer. People think of, I mean, Strike is international and they're always expanding. So I just feel like, you know, some of that access to capital is really crucial. And I like seeing Bitcoin only companies. I do think this paper treasury stuff is going to kind of go poof, maybe with the exception of, well, for sure, with the exception of MicroStrategy, and that's just what I'm calling them. I'm not going with the rebrand. Is that they're just going to be some sort of Bitcoin bank, in which they're showing that now. So they're rolling out new financial products that collateralize Bitcoin for different tranches of economic activity, junk bonds, you know, high yield, low risk, and then up the curve there, like higher risk, you know, with a little bit of equity, like STRK. So like, I think wherever he's taking that plane, that's going to work, because number go up and the guy owns, I don't know, what is it, 630,000 Bitcoin. Metaplanet seems to be doing pretty well with the Japan jurisdiction. I don't know how Adam Back's company is going to go, or how Jack Muller's 21 Vibes is going to go. That seems to be just kind of, they both seem to be sitting there. But yeah, maybe 4 or 5 companies make it out, and then a lot of the copycats can't. But I'm more interested in companies that have cash flow and that are cash flow positive, just starting to use that to buy Bitcoin, as opposed to just be like, like what did the Bitcoin magazine David Bailey guy do? Just like he just hopped into a shell company and then was like, okay, now this is the Bitcoin company and it's Nakamoto. And anyway, I mean, I'm not going to like disparage any guy who's trying to innovate in Bitcoin, but the whole move just felt like uncouth to me. I was just like, ugh, is there no like value there? And he already has a company that's like cash flow positive. Like, why don't you just make Bitcoin magazine and like start taking your excess revenue and like buy Bitcoin? Because everyone's trying to take this like levered debt play and like get all this like market, interest. But I think a lot of that's going to contract against them over time. And like you were talking about, like, well, I would like to see like real companies like Tesla. They make money, they make cars, they're good, they're cash flow positive, and sweep some of that into Bitcoin, as opposed to like using Bitcoin as this like speculative like alt paper Bitcoin play. So we'll see where it goes. Do you have any read on what you think is going to happen with MSTR and the whole sailor Titanic ship? Where are we going with that?
There is, for me, 3 types of treasury companies. The first type of treasury company are cash flow positive, great companies that have some sort of product or service that they provide that are unrelated to Bitcoin, or maybe even related to Bitcoin, like selling like hardware wallets or something like that. And they have that positive cash flow. And with that positive cash flow, some of that goes into Bitcoin, and they just accumulate Bitcoin on the treasury. They don't have any debt, or they don't play any bonds or fiat games on top of that. That's the first kind of a company. Maybe they have a little bit of debt, but like not a lot, like under reason. Then there's the second type of treasury companies that are the strategies, the meta planets, that they service, their product or service is basically getting capital that is locked into place and cannot move directly to Bitcoin, move indirectly to Bitcoin with their products and services. They are acting as financial pipes, basically, in my view. And they are buying Bitcoin leverage, and they're building out new products for that. That, I think, has a space medium term, maybe even like long term, as the Bitcoin, like we're now at what adoption percentage, maybe 1%, maybe 2%, maybe under percent, depending on what metrics you're looking at, maybe 5% if you're looking at other metrics. And from that low metric towards 100% Bitcoin adoption, or 80, 70% Bitcoin adoption, they can capture a lot of upside there. But there won't be a lot of players doing that. As you said, there might be 4 or 5 players that capture different kind of segments of the market, like Japan with MetaPlanet, strategy with the Western world. And then there's a third type of treasury companies that try to copy what strategy and all the other ones are doing. They will just go bust. I don't think there's any... They might compete with them because they are better in whatever they are doing, but then you have to outcompete the current companies like strategy, and this will be super, super hard. So just copying that strategy, I personally don't think this will work. There might be 5, 6, maybe 10 companies at best that can do that, but not hundreds definitely not thousands. So I think a lot of those treasury companies will go bust. But I hope that the first first type of treasury companies, those just have a great business, product, service, and they have cash flow, they just invest in Bitcoin. I think that's the best play you can do. And if you want to put a little bit leverage on that, go ahead and do it. Thank you for watching this video. This was only a snippet of the podcast. And if you want to watch the full episode and get all of the context of this episode, you can click right here or here. Oh, maybe also here.